All right, welcome again. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And again, I am Coach Crystal Rogers, a professional coach, and hoping to be engaging, exclusive, and reliable. Although I would like to steal Dion's words and try to figure out how does that fit. But actually, it's probably more fitting for you, Dion. Can you repeat those?
Yeah, amplify, empower, and support.
I love it. And you like really embody that because from the last session, you took what I did and invited me to be highlighted in your newsletter, which I'm so appreciative of. And we got that turned around and I was in your newsletter. And then we got some networking action going because Teju, who was also here last time, went ahead and subscribed to Dion's Hub. And so we're just going to keep plugging each other. And, for this whole reason, I want to learn more about Teju and what you do. And then Dion, if you could share a little bit more about what you do, and then you all already know what I do. So Teju, would you mind going first? Are you? She's on mute. I don't know if you know that you're on mute, but you are. She's still on mute. Dion, you can go first. I'm going to chat her and
Okay.
see, or maybe she got busy. Let's see. Um, Chat.
It happens.
I know. As you.
But yeah.
Hold on a second. I'm going to
Okay.
chat because I can't do two things at once.
Oh, understood. Understood. No.
I know Teju has a business, so I want to give her the opportunity to share as well as you. So I'm just going to chat her. Okay, so I chatted her, so she should see that when she comes back. But Dion, share with me about what you do and what Dion's Hub is.
Oh, yeah. So one, thank you for asking. And also thank you again for the amplification connection in this space. It's very much appreciated.
Of course.
So what I do, I am an HR professional. So I started Dion's Hub as a means to be a fractional HR consultant or organizational development consultant. So I can either come in and integrate into your current HR team that might be working at capacity and things are falling through the cracks or things aren't getting done to the liking of necessary like deadlines or time needing to be met. So
Hmm.
I can either integrate into your team or I can kind of do it all by myself because I have had roles ranging from like employee relations specialist to HR director. So I've done everything over the life cycle of employment. And then I could also do some like resume interview skills, things of that like nature. So even potentially like partnering with colleges. But right now, I'm really focused on empowering, amplifying, and supporting individuals because I've had my own traumatic employment experiences.
Yeah.
I want to end those. I really want to mitigate risk and make it a positive employment experience for everybody because we all have to collect a check or make money some way. So work is in the equation. How do we make it better and intentional?
Right. Right. Awesome. Thank you for sharing. And it's so necessary. We see so much toxicity in environments that we work in, and we spend most of our time in environments that we work in. So it's just kind of tragic. So thank you for the work that you do. And I see we have someone joining us. Jennifer, your face looks familiar. Jennifer, I know you just joined, so I just want to catch you up. We are just kind of learning a little bit more about what each of us does professionally, if that's that you are employed or you have your own business or you do your own thing on the side. I want to take the time to just allow everyone to learn about each one of us here. You all know about me from the first session. So, Jennifer, if you are not too busy and can come off of mute, would you mind sharing with the group what you do and what you do it for?
Okay. I'm so sorry. Let me get myself together. 1 second.
I know. And I was going to go to Teju, but she was on mute and I don't know that she is back yet. But go ahead if you're ready.
I'm here. It's cool. So I am by trade, I'm a licensed attorney. However, my role now is Director of Diversity and Inclusion. I work at doesn't matter. I work at a civil legal aid law firm, meaning our clients are ones who have very limited or no means. So we provide services for free to them. What more did you want to know?
Anything you do on the side, or if you have your own thing, I'm not sure. I just, if you do.
So what I'm starting to get into, I guess I started last year really, is doing like public speaking, I guess we can call it, engagements. I facilitate trainings all relating to diversity, equity, and inclusion. So that's kind of what I do on the side. It's not actually a business yet, I don't feel, but it's what I do on the side. Thank you.
Do you get paid for it?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you for sharing your other business on the side. I appreciate that. Teju, are you back and able to come off mute and share a little bit about yourself?
I'm back. I am sorry. I am also driving, which is terrible to be driving and do this. But I pulled over. So hold
Okay.
on.
Thank you for being safe.
Because okay, so wait, why say girl, what is going I'm sorry guys. My camera said I can't come on. Anyway, I am Teju. I am the Chief Experience Officer for Brand Experience, and we are a full-service brand experience firm, and we focus on building equitable brands that get a return on experience, and it builds loyalty, advocacy, and longevity, and that's what you need to stay sustainable in business. I reside in LA, and I've been owning and operating Brand Experience for 6 years.
Wow, 6 years?
Yeah, yep.
Wow.
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. Well, I'm definitely getting good vibes and feelings from your photo. I understand your phone in Zoom is giving a little shade and not allowing you to come off video, but you look
Yes.
beautiful.
Thank
So
you.
thank you. And it's just so exciting to have a virtual room full of entrepreneurs, even if, our entrepreneurship is currently something in addition to what we do in our employment. It's just so nice and inspiring to see a room full of entrepreneurs. So thank you again for joining. I am going to share my screen again. So again, I am Crystal Rogers, professional coach, and we are going to be talking today about awareness of self. And I believe that this is the next natural step that needs to occur before we start to create goals for ourselves. So awareness of self today for our lunch break, or for Teju, our breakfast break series. And I think we have someone, I think that's Jennifer, who maybe rejoined. So as a reminder, I have a business called Kinetic Coaching, and it is for accelerated transformation or transition or pivoting or change, whatever is happening in your life that you could use some facilitated growth for. That is what I serve. And then my professional profile is a certified professional coach. I have a background in psychology and adult learning theory. I am an entrepreneur in other areas as well. I have a business with my mom, like I mentioned last time. I currently do work for a wealth management firm, and I'm a proud mom and bonus mom and wife. So, what is awareness of self? When I think about awareness of self, or in the past, before I started to really get into my genius, my expertise, being self-aware just meant like, well, I know who I am. I mean, I'm goofy. I laugh a lot. I have a dry sense of humor. I have a couple friends that are close to me. So that was my limited understanding of what awareness of self was. So, but as I got deeper into my studies and my expertise and into coaching, I understood more about what being aware of self really meant. We have the term, I know them like the back of my hand. That means you may know someone and how they're going to respond, to, some sort of, cause and effect. You may know how they're going to react to what you're going to tell them, some news that you're going to share. It's like, I know I need to take them to this place around people because this is how they're going to respond. You know how to control and manage other people, but what about self? And so that's what we're really going to get into today, is how to manage ourselves under certain circumstances. So what you want to do is understand and discover all of you, including your character, your feelings, your motives, and your desires. So self-awareness by definition is a defined conscious knowledge of one's own character, feelings, motives, and desires. What motivates you? What do you want? How do you feel, and how would you respond to certain things? And what are your characteristics internally? When you know your characteristics, your values, which we talked about last time, your vision, what's ahead of you, your desires, your feelings about certain things, you do become empowered to then focus and align. If you are not able to clearly see and understand your values, what motivates you, what makes you, what causes lack of motivation, then you're not really able to focus in and then align yourself and your actions to your own standards and according to your own standards, because you do not have them if you do not know them. So you're also able to then be proactive, but more than that, if you aren't able to be proactive about something that is happening to you or an environment that you're in, that you find yourself in, that you did not drive yourself to, at least you're able to then be reactive in a responsible way and now assess the way that you reacted almost automatically and say, okay, do I need to correct? Does that align with my own standards, my values, my feelings, my character, things like that? Because when we let emotions drive, we all know that we might respond and react to things differently than we perhaps might intend to if we had put a little bit of thought into it. But we don't always have time to think and then act. Sometimes we act and or react, and then it's not aligned. And so that's where that contradiction comes in, and sometimes even conflict. So you want to make sure that you have named your thoughts, your emotions, values, and standards so that you can understand how to better align them. Excuse me. So let's talk about then, well, I want to pause for a second, actually, before I get into this slide, and understand what, types of awareness do you have, or what have you noticed about yourself? What have you learned about yourself that you now take and apply in your real life settings day to day? So this could be, encounters with coworkers, encounters with certain families and friends, holidays, things like that. What do you know about yourself as information that is used to inform what you do and how you behave, show up in real life? Dion or Jennifer? We lost Teju.
What I have noticed, it could be an age thing, or maybe it was always there and I pushed through, but there's a window of like how much time I can be in just a huge setting of people before I get completely overwhelmed and just want to completely shut down. So like I had to go to an event, I think it was like last week or something, and I was just like, I will give myself 1 hour. I had a goal of meeting 2 people and talking with 2 people that I didn't know already. And then, yeah, once I accomplished both of those goals, I went home where I felt safe.
I love that. Do you see what she did there? You took it further than like I was going to actually talk about how you can then use the information that you know about yourself to inform goals. And in that description, you shared with us how you were able to then create a goal. Hey, Teju, create a goal and then achieve that goal and then release yourself And that is a huge win. And it seems so small, but it's huge because now you might do that again, right? I might be okay with subjecting myself to a networking event in the same likeness, but knowing, okay, I'm going to spend this, I don't know, $85 ticket. I know this, but I also know I'm willing to do that and make myself feel safe and not feel guilty about not attending for the full 3 hours, not feel overwhelmed, not subject myself to a painful experience. And I have a goal to meet while I'm there. Win, 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 win. Like it's a win on all fronts. But so you can see clearly just from Jennifer's response how knowing thyself is so critical to informing goals. So, Dion, what about you? What is something you know about yourself that you use in your everyday, day to day?
I know that I get hangry, and I can also not manage my activities well, where I'm like, oh, I just need to work through this to get this done. But then I become hangry. So then my work either doesn't become, it's not, the quality suffers,
Yeah.
or I lash out, or I just start not feeling great. So it's like, okay, how do I build in these times, not snacks, Dion, actual meals, where you eat something that's like nourishing, good for you, and that way you can supplement with snacks. But how are you building out? And that's still a work in progress of building out, of meal prepping efficiently or properly, but also giving myself credit for when I do it. I'm just like, okay, this is time to eat, and then move into it, as opposed to trying to power through. But it's like, what are you really powering through? Your body needs food.
You have no power.
Yeah. So it's just like, what are you doing?
Yeah. You're hangrily moving through and not powering through anything.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so what does being hangry look like, feel like, and not even just to yourself and to others?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
It looks like agitation. It sounds like snappier responses, or perhaps my tone when I'm not even trying to be in a tone. It's a tone anyway. It's also, I notice I get colder. So I'm just like, oh, maybe I just need to throw on like a jacket or something. It's like, no, maybe this is also your body telling you something. So it's trying to also listen to myself. But showing up snappier, a little bit more agitated. And it's like, are you really upset at this person or the situation? Or is it you didn't take autonomy for your actions, where it's like, okay, I know I'm getting hungry. Stop, eat something, come back.
Yeah. And it seems so simple again, like just to eat something. But, Teju, you were nodding your head and she started to talk about the hangry thing. You almost look guilty behind those shades. So, what is something that you have noticed about yourself, either being hangry or something else that you've used to inform your action?
Hangry is a good one. I do suffer for that too, but I get easily overstimulated, very, very easily overstimulated. So yes, I have used that in form. What it looks like is I can become very irritable, agitated, and it's really just because I like routine. So I like routine. So anything that deviates from it overstimulates me, and it's downhill from there. So it's something to be aware of, like if you're in my space or being around me or just know about me. Because one, I'm naturally like quieter. Y'all probably don't think that. I'm quieter. Like I'm much quiet. I don't talk a lot anyway. But if I'm overstimulated, so if you meet me and I'm overstimulated, like everybody needs to know I'm easily overstimulated. Easily.
Thank you.
Easily.
Easily. So, do
Easily.
you know what your stimulants are that you need to be wary of and just kind of be like, oh, that's too loud or too many or
Yes, I
okay.
do. So you named two of them. I do not like I don't like loudness, like in any capacity. And I mean, like, I'm someone who like concert. I'm talking about just like loudness. Like, I don't like loudness, and I think it's because I really like this. Sounds strange. I really like my mind. Like, I like thinking in my mind. This sounds
Okay.
weird, but I like things. So I like to hear myself. Like, I like what goes on in my head. So like when it's too loud, like it just seems like I can't concentrate on what's going on in my head. And I could be thinking about eating candy. Like, it doesn't have to be super deep, but like I just like to be able to like process and like hear my own thoughts.
That.
When things are loud and distracting stuff, I can't do it. So it's gonna just throw me all the way off. So like sounds is one of that. Smells is a big one too. Like
Mm.
they'll throw me off. Like there's just like, but we talked
Okay.
about it earlier. Like, I'm not used to a variety of smells because I don't have
Mm-hmm.
a variety of food or palettes or different things that I use. Like, I eat fruits and veggies. They pretty much have the same smell. Everything is like bland. So when something like is
Mm-hmm.
that's gonna
It's
throw
a
me off.
lot.
I do, yeah. I don't like movements, like a whole bunch of like I don't, and then I don't like last minute. Like, you ask me to do something, anybody, and by last minute
Mm.
is content to me. Last minute is like 72 hours. I know some people are like, you asked me like 5 minutes. No, like last minute for me is like 2 to 3 days. Anything within 2 to 3 days, that's really gonna blow me over the top, and overstimulate me, and I'm gonna be in a mood for
For
hours.
those
Like,
2 days.
I'm just for those whole 2 days. So like
Yeah.
those are the ones. And I know that seems very hard to operate in the world because like that's all the stuff that happens day to day. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But that's my thing. I'm easily overstimulated.
And that's so what's okay is that and you are easily overstimulated, right?
Yes.
But
Yes.
what's less okay is not knowing how to then manage yourself in those situations. So, as long as we're able to understand and know, now we are empowered to move and operate in ways that work for us and work for others, and that's the management of it. So, or communicate. So if you know that you're overstimulated, if Dion knows I'm hungry and therefore about to be hangry, if Jennifer knows, I can't remember Jennifer's. Oh, Jennifer knows she doesn't want to go to an event and there's too many people and it's going to be for a long time. Now, thank you for allowing me that time to think. Now I can make decisions and I can communicate. Teju can say, I appreciate the opportunity, thinking of me to be the one to handle this in 2 days. However, it's not going to work for me this time. And if next time you could give me at least 7 days notice, it might be more practical. Or I'm going to, go ahead and do it this time. And I appreciate it. My policy is I need 7 days notice, but I'm going to do it for you this time. So I'm communicating this is an exception. Jennifer can then communicate to people, at her table, I'm coming for an hour. I do have an obligation after an hour that I need to get to. And during that hour, I'll be super intentional about networking. So unfortunately, maybe we'll schedule another time to really like catch up. Because at that time, if I know somebody at that table, isn't going to be for that. It's going to be for networking, those two people, and getting out of there. And notice I said I have an obligation after an hour. It's not like a lie. I do. The obligation is I need to leave and I need to be on my couch at home decompressing. It's an obligation to self. It's not saying I have another meeting or a plane to catch. That's just as important because I value my time and space and my alone time and my need to decompress. It is important. So I do have an obligation. And same for Dion. I, need to make sure I have 15 minutes in between my meeting. So please don't schedule me back to back because I need to eat. Like it's otherwise I'm not going to be able to show up for you. Right. So that segues us into the types of awareness. So there's two different distinct types of awareness. You all kind of cover them a little bit when you gave your own description of what self-awareness looks like for you. but there's public and private. So public is being aware of how we can appear to others. This type causes us to be a little bit more, a little bit more careful about social norms and wanting to be and appear socially acceptable. This one can be dangerous sometimes because it can get us teetering into being self-conscious and worrying a little bit too much about how we appear and come off to other people. So for this one, in Jennifer's example of, going to a networking event, if, it's okay to be conscious of how you appear publicly, that the fact that you're going to show up and you may not be there for the whole event, you can be mindful of that, but what could she do while being mindful of that and still sticking to her goal of 2 people and gone by an hour? Like, what could Jennifer do to be mindful? And I understand that other people will be aware that I'm gone, but what could that look like? Anybody?
I'd say just letting it be verbally known to everybody, like in the mile radius. So if you sit at the table, it's like, okay, y'all, in an hour I'm gonna be out. So even if I don't say bye or something, blah blah blah, like just letting everybody know.
Yeah. And it's just simple communication so that, what is it called when all of a sudden you look up and someone's gone and they're like, where did Jennifer go? What is that
I don't know
called?
if it might be offensive, but it's called an Irish exit.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah,
I
it
don't know
might
if we're
be.
supposed to say that.
Thank you for the DE&I person on the phone. Okay, that is what it's called. Apologies to anyone who's Irish and that's offensive too.
I just said, whoop. I said, let me write that down. Whoops. I'm glad you guys are in the room. Thanks. So if I
Yes.
say that to somewhere else, thank you.
Yes. And so instead of pulling one of those, Jennifer could at her table, right? Because in a room full of 150, right? No one's going to really notice, but the people at the table might be like, where did Jennifer go? Instead of that, Jennifer might say, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and eat my dessert first because I know I'm only going to be able to be here for an hour, and I'll be sure to try to say, goodbye to everybody before I go. But I just wanted to let y'all know that I am leaving after an hour so that you're not confused. It's a simple communication. One might say, well, it's no one's business, where I'm going, but it's your choice. Yes, Jennifer?
I just wanted to clarify that, like, if it's a sit down event and like that type of thing, I can do that.
You can do that.
I can just sit there and talk with people at my table. This was literally a networking event that went on for like 2.5, maybe 3 hours, where it's like just walking around. There were a couple tables, but it was mainly like, hey, how you doing? So and so. And I didn't know these people. So thank you.
Thank you for the clarification. Yeah, and just, for those types of events, you probably wouldn't even need to communicate, right? But unless there was somebody that you were going with or meeting there, things like that. So you just want to be mindful if Jennifer were meeting a friend there, to say, hey, I just want to let you know me, I'm out after an hour. So then there is the private. So this is the one that's a little bit more introspective and reflective. This is the type that, allows you to really approach your feelings and reactions with curiosity. So as you are going into a very important meeting and your body's tensing up, you're noticing your hands are shaking, it's getting more difficult for you to speak, things like that. You're having a bit of stage fright. Noticing so that you can properly attribute that to the fact that you're going into this meeting. And it's not anything other than your body's natural reaction to feeling anxious. So that way you can then communicate, or you can do what your body needs, go and get a drink of water, go to the restroom, shake it out, whatever it is that you yourself needs to do in order to present however you intend to present. And so that you can meet your goal. So in someone's circumstance where, they're hangry, like Dion, she notices one thing that I noticed about what you said was you could feel cold. Who would ever have thought that feeling cold means that you need to eat? I would have never thought of that for myself. But for you to be that keenly, attuned to how you feel when you're hangry, now you know this is a trigger, this is a signal. I'm feeling cold. I might need to eat something. I didn't have breakfast. But probably to be more proactive, you would have eaten breakfast so that you could prepare for this meeting. Things like that. So one of the dangers of being privately self-aware is being conscious about what we notice, which can then lead to being reluctant about what we share with others. And then that can come off as not being authentic, having a lack of authenticity. So if we are not sharing with others what we know about ourselves, then like in Jennifer's situation that I kind of made up and I added to with the table and it's a banquet and she just dips out. Now people could, feel like she's a little flaky or she's a little, opportunistic because she showed up and she got her 2 numbers and she left. When really it has nothing to do with that. Of course, she's taking advantage of the opportunity, but the lack of communication about, I'm only here for an hour because I have an obligation. The lack of that could come off as, what was that about? Was it us? Like, why did she dip all of a sudden? And then it can just affect in a way that you don't want it to affect the way that you come off to people. So you just want to be, aware of that and how that can look. All right. So self-awareness and goals. The whole point of all of this, right? So being self-aware allows us to better inform goals, as you all talked about. And because it reflects then our true motives, our desires, our feelings, and our abilities. You all aren't making this up as far as being hangry, having, feeling like you don't want to be around crowds of people for long time, spans of time, and feeling like you're overstimulated. This is not like imaginary. It's not in your head, right? So you're not physically able to perform at your best when you're hungry. Teju's not physically able to perform and deliver her best work when she's given short notice. Jennifer is not able to enjoy herself at a function for 3 hours of networking. Some people are. They're just naturally extroverted and they could do 6 hours. They don't even want to leave. But you're not able to. But knowing what you're able to do can help inform the goals that you set for yourself. Jennifer, you sounded very intentional when you said, I told myself I was going to make 2 connections and that was it. Not 3, not 5, not 1, but 2. So 1 would probably be like ideal, but 2 at least probably was a challenge. Now I'm stretching myself. But that's it. But maybe as you get better at whatever it is that you're trying to do in that space with networking, maybe that could turn over to 3. But for now, it's 2. And so Dion, for you, it's like, I can't do no snack. I need a meal. And you may have learned what is that measurement? What's that metric for yourself? Like, what do you need to feel actually nourished and to be able to perform at your best? So that is why it's so important to be self-aware and use that information before you start creating goals for yourself. Like, I have a friend who can run 6 miles a day. If I want to get on a workout plan, there's no way I'm signing up for 6 miles a day. As if I were a fool and didn't know myself, I might say I could do 6 miles a day. And we know people like that, right? So, but you don't really want to do that because you're setting yourself up for failure or a lesson learned, a hard lesson learned. So we're much better at discerning the difference between our own needs, feelings, desires, and someone else's needs, feelings, and desires when we know ourselves too. Because I can impose upon a friend of mine, you know what, you should do this because you're really good at that. But I don't understand their limitations, their feelings, their desires, their motives, the way that they do. So just because I notice that they might be skilled in a particular piece of it, I don't know the whole story because I'm not them. So also being self-aware helps us to reduce stress about making progress. Because when we're informed about what we're able to do, we're informed about our character, our feelings, our desire, our motives, our values. Now I don't have to stress out about comparing myself to other people if I'm mindful of the fact that this is for me. This is how I operate. This is what I know I can do. This is the condition that I know I need to be in order to produce my best. I'm not them. So I don't have to be stressed out about that. I can just breathe and just say, you know what? This is for me. Jennifer doesn't have to be stressed out about feeling like, how can Crystal float look like a butterfly, sting like a bee through this networking event and leave with 10 connections and I'm only leaving with 2? I don't have to stress about that because I'm doing what I'm able to do before shutting down. That's why, so that's why it's so important. And knowing yourself is more than just kind of sitting and understanding and listening to yourself. Taking self-assessments and using tools that are backed by psychometric data help to inform goals as well. So whether that's Myers-Briggs, whether that's DISC, whether that's, something else that you find that asks you a series of questions for you to really assess what are your strengths, like Strength Finders. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are the characteristics that you wish were better that you can practice and get better at? So, what are some things that you all know about yourself with that respect when it comes to like professionalism or even family life, how you show up day to day, something different than what you shared already? I'm looking for more of the cognitive ability that you might know about yourself. Maybe has anybody ever taken one of those assessments? You have, Dion? Which one?
I've taken I've taken Strength Finders, I've done the DISC assessment, and I haven't done the Myers-Briggs in a few years, but I have my old letters. I've done all of them though.
Cool. What do
And
you know
so
about yourself from those?
I know that empathy is also something that's important, and it's like people connecting. So having a connection with people, that is like a common thread that's always kind of come across, or like being of service, of wanting to get like problem solving. And also how that could also be read sometimes. Like you can be read as too optimistic or naive, or as a cheerleader that people just want to shut up. So it's also being aware of how to also work with other styles that may not necessarily like that have different methodologies or processes that might like clash, but how to look at those clashes as an opportunity for improvement and like kind of challenging yourself, as well as like making yourself I don't know, more well-rounded in a sense, to work with different types of people, because you're not always going to be surrounded people who are like you or think like you, or at least I hope I'm not, because that's how I believe you grow. So
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I mean, if you meet up with another Dion, then one of you is not needed, right? Like, we don't need two of us
getting a
here.
little Jordan Peele for me right there, a little us. I was like, oh God. So
No, yeah, we don't want that. But it's really helpful to know also when you have your strengths, like you said, you took the Strength Finders. Did you look at the piece in the book where it talked about what to be careful of? So if you are an achiever, so I'm an achiever according to Strength Finders, but what I need to be mindful of is overachieving, staying up all night, working myself to death because I'm an achiever. So being able to manage that now that I know that about myself. So as you're nodding your head, you understand that piece too.
and it's definitely a challenge because it does line it out as to like these are things that you're like your strengths, and then these are the areas where it's like, okay, watch out for either taking everything on yourself, like, oh, you don't need to do that, like you can delegate it out. Yes, that's a lifelong process, practice.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Did anyone else, we're at 1:00, so I just want to be mindful if anyone has a 1:00 and needs to go, please do. But does anyone else have anything that they wanted to share about what they know about themselves from perhaps an assessment? No? Okay. So that brings us to the core of awareness. So next time, we will be talking about reflection. Once you are aware of self, what does that do for our ability to then reflect before we make decisions about our goals? So being able to reflect, knowing what that looks like, feels like, and how to close the loop on awareness and reflection before we move on to then creating goals for ourselves. So with that being said, please join me next week for our step 3 on reflection. Thanks, ladies. I appreciate you joining me today. And thank you, Teju, for coming back, and Jennifer for joining us after your earlier obligations, and Dion as well. If you know anybody who might be able to benefit from anything we're hearing here that is being shared, or even if they want to show up to network, I'm all about networking, sharing about, what each of us is doing in the community or for ourselves. So thanks again. See you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Crystal.
Crystal.
Yeah.
Bye, Dion. Bye,
Welcome.
Jackie.
Bye,
Bye.
Teju.
Bye,
Bye, Jennifer. Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.